the birth number report for 33-6. So 3s are expression and sensitivity, and that's doubled. And then we have a 6, which is vision and acceptance. And those on the 33-6 life path are here to work through issues of perfectionism, emotional expression, and self-doubt in order to bring forward their inspiring vision of their life's possibilities while appreciating the innate perfection of the present moment. This world contains both beauty and ugliness, kind and cruelty. And those working with a 33-6 energy, with their high ideals and acute sensitivity, tend to feel disheartened by the problems and imperfections of the world. But they also suppress their sadness and even their anger as they attempt to do the right thing because of their high standards. Ironically, even with the depth of emotions, 33-6s can appear cool and unemotional. When 33-6s displeases someone or anyone, even though they may not acknowledge it, they're troubled by this because they combine the emotional needs of the 3s with the sensitive conscious of the 6s. Therefore, 33-6s need to take care not to let themselves be manipulated in their desire for approval and their strong social needs to be liked and respected. The lives of 33-6s grow brighter when they realize that their visions and their hopes and their high ideals are here to inspire them, not to become the yardstick by which they should measure the world. They need to appreciate that in the world of form, no perfect person, performance, or product exists. They also need to appreciate and express their vision of the inherent or higher level of perfection already existing in the world. Although their basic life purpose is the same as that of the others with 6s, 33-6s have a distinct, different energy due to the powerful influence of the double 3. That's the same for other birth numbers such as 22-4 or 44-8. Any double numbers represent significant strengths and added challenges. For 33-6s, the double 3 means that inner expression needs to manifest before outer expressiveness can bloom. Inner expression entails 33-6s to communicate with themselves and to get in touch with their own inner feelings. And this poses a clear challenge for most 33-6s because their perfectionistic nature tends to fixate on the best, the most ideal way to feel or to be or to act. They can lose touch with the real, not always nice feelings that make up the entire complex of their personality. Although 33-6s don't rely on denial as much as other numbers such as 42-6s or 24-6s, it may take time and insight for them to finally accept their real feelings. Getting in touch with and accepting that their authentic feelings opens channels to their subconscious wisdom and intuition, and enables them to form and enjoy a more compassionate bond with others. And once 33-6s contact their own feelings, the second 3 involves finding the courage to express their feelings to others. Again, this is difficult because they are very sensitive to criticism, and they want to appear in the very best possible light. And in some cases, their standards are too high and they just give up. So expressing their feelings entails a certain amount of vulnerability and leaves 33-6s open to others. If they take the risk they're rewarded with closer relationships with others and with themselves. Contacting and expressing feelings doesn't end the challenge of double 3 energy, because 33 sixes are prone to disillusion, disappointment, and general frustration when life doesn't meet their expectations. And because of this, they tend to express themselves in the negative through complaining or criticizing, gossiping, judging, or name-calling. Of course, 33 sixes then turn around and judge themselves for advertising their judgments out loud. Such negative expression, however, is preferable to denial or withholding feelings as a step in the direction of self-expression. In the short run, it may be better for 33 sixes to express in the negative than to hold in their expression and not speak at all, at least until they learn how to express their feelings authentically in more positive ways. Even though many 33 sixes feel compelled to complain or judge or condemn or otherwise express in the negative, they can develop the skill to express the same idea honestly in a positive way. It's very important for 33 sixes or anyone working with threes to realize that anything they express in negative ways, they can also express in positive ways. The law of choices addresses this key area, and I'll go into the law of choices later. The destiny of 33 sixes relies on their cultivating their natural high-minded vision of the bigger picture, the ability to see the inherent beauty, the opportunity, the teachings of life's up and downs. Having cultivated their vision, they need to learn to use their expressive energies and abilities in the most constructive, uplifting, even enthusiastic ways. This doesn't mean denying an injustice or problem or seeing only the sunny side of life or a situation. It means recognizing and accepting all that happens, whether we like it or not, and using that as fuel for our growth and learning. With a double 3 energy, 33 sixes have 2 doses of self-doubt, which can drag them down because of the weight of their ongoing standards. Unless they're recognized that the hurdle for what it is and deal with it, they can balance their perfectionistic tendencies by remembering that every incident reflects the universal teacher, making every circumstance a perfect opportunity to learn. Self-doubt and perfectionism comprise the 2 biggest hurdles for 33 sixes. The combination tends to send them on a never-ending quest for self-improvement. Sixes love to improve themselves and everything else, and the self-doubt of 3 sends them swinging from confidence to depressive doubt. Very competitive. They constantly judge and compare themselves to others to see how they're doing. If they don't, they feel like they're not doing well enough. And they may push themselves or strive for lofty goals or for the reach of perfection. And if they fall into self-doubt, they may step out of the game, just get by or drop out, or they'll be disheartened and defeated. They're victim to the logic. If I don't try, then I really can't fail. And if they stay in that game, they end up doing well because their inherent, bright, sensitive, and intuitive nature kicks in. Nearly all 33 sixes are more interested in goals than in sometimes the lengthy process necessary to reach them. Unlike 4s, they have trouble tolerating slow, careful steps, where 33 sixes are willing to go through the steps, but they want to do it quickly so that they can reach the end goal. They see the completed vision before them and want to achieve it. They want to arrive almost before they've begun. 33 sixes need to apply the law of process, which I'll be going into later, not because they're reluctant to go step by step, but rather as a reminder to slow down and enjoy the journey. Most 33 sixes feel a strong need for emotional support and love. Even though many people love and admire them, they may not feel it until they come to love and accept themselves and to see their own beauty and light. Working 33 sixes in the positive, surrounded by an energy field reflecting purity and clarity. These sensitive individuals have an attractive energy and an enthusiastic way of helping others to see their own perfection and positive side. And they can find the positive side of every issue. They have a strong body because they've developed and refined it through proper exercise and diet. And when they're working in the positive, they accept their shape whether or not it meets anyone else's idea of perfection. They see the inherent perfection of others, and they have come to accept themselves. Self-evaluation has changed to self-valuation. They always have a kind word or good thing to say about others. Their laser eyesight can spot the beauty in anyone or anything. They see the higher beings we are all becoming. With their high standards and sense of fairness, they work for justice. They believe in what's right and truth in constructive ways. But when 33 sixes are working in the negative, they get tight-lipped. They inhibit outsiders. These individuals have downturned corners of their mouth that indicate their disappointment with most people and their anger and frustration about the world. It isn't fair is the battle. And these harsh critics, as they judge the world against unreachable ideals. They hold in their expression or let it out in negative ways, maybe complaining as their laser vision points out the flaws in everyone and everything. Their body holds tension with extra fat and extra muscle, or as body armor to insulate them from the world that becomes brutal due to their own self-imposed standards. There are some life path issues. So let's go into health. And the source of energy for 33 sixes comes from having a cause, an idea, or an idea that inspires them. Most have a strong, healthy body, but due to their sensitivity and depending on their emotional state, they may sometimes have to deal with sore throats due to unexpressed feelings. And when nervous or pressured by feeling that they have to do well, they sometimes experience a nervous stomach. The stress that they impose on themselves with their high standards can also manifest as muscular tension, especially in the jaw, or occasional skin rashes, or even as asthma in the world seems to be pressing in on them as they try to meet their own impossibility of high standards. If working in the negative over time, 33 sixes may experience chronic illness, including colitis or ulcers or some kind of abdominal symptoms. And chronically blocked and suppressed or unexpressed anger related to judgments they place on themselves or others can turn to arthritis in later years. a form of crystallized anger in the joints, especially those 33 sixes who have a cool, controlled exterior. All of the preceding problems or conditions reflect those working 33-6 energy in the negative, and these issues are not inevitable or necessary. Health conditions can improve significantly once 33 sixes or people working with those birth numbers learn to ease up and go with the flow. Good advice for any 33 sixes would be to eat what they feel good about and feel good about what they eat. And because the energy of 3 energy, emotions play an important role in anything they do, everything they do. They tend to inspire to and work toward an optimal diet, depending on their knowledge of nutrition and their instinctive feel. And although it's not an issue for most 33 sixes, some may be vulnerable to eating disorders because of a distorted body image or not feeling slim enough or not being perfect enough. Most 33 sixes do well with clear-cut fitness exercises. They naturally look for the most perfect form of exercise for them, even one that fills emotional and or social needs. Many also enjoy skilled training, such as martial arts, where they can refine and hone skills to perfection, or the top 5 martial arts that is out there. These happen to really work with 33 sixes life path. As far as relationships, emotions aren't reasonable, neat, orderly, or predictable. And 33 sixes may have difficulty letting their hair down and getting wild and passionate. Unless, of course, they're skillful, like Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro, skillful actors and actresses. Because overcoming self-doubt and the fear of others' opinions may take a little time for 33 sixes, until they're willing to express their feelings directly, as in, I feel hurt. They tend to stifle their secrets and to keep their cool. When emotions are held back, so are relationships. And those working 33-6 need to realize that their partner or spouse wants to love them, not somebody with a perfect mask. The more genuine and vulnerable they can act, and the more they can feel, here's who I am, the good and the bad, take it or leave it, the better. Sexually, many 33 sixes feel a distant or some kind of block, rather than wild abandon, because of their concern with technique or performance, with how well they're doing, rather than the pure emotional context and ability of lovemaking. In some cases, if they haven't yet understood their perfection and their tendencies, their sexual feelings may diminish because they're suppressing anger resulting from judgments about their lover. In the positive, 33 sixes form nurturing, giving relationships, sexual, passionate, and otherwise. As far as the talents, works, and finances, unless they allow self-doubt to stop them, the high standards of 33 sixes make them naturally prone to success because they do very good work, even though they don't always feel that way. They have a deep emotional sensitivity whether or not they show it, and a mind that focuses and directs a profound intuitive intelligence. To succeed, however, they need to get a grip on their ideals, stay practical and realistic, and keep positive. The desire of 33 sixes for precision, along with their expressive and intuitive abilities, can shine through many different occupations, such as teaching or training, organizational work, design, architecture, illustration, actors, dancers, athletes, and who are 33 sixes study their craft deeply. They are professionals. Many 33 sixes make excellent writers. They excel at anything having to do with communication, feelings, and expression. They tend to offer that extra touch and to work consciously towards higher standards. If any problems arise in the financial area, self-doubt and perfectionism, procrastination are probably the source. Whenever 33 sixes experience a lack of abundance, this may stem from self-worth issues, from unrealistically devaluating themselves and being afraid to step up and let the world know what they're worth. Whether they come to know and appreciate themselves and to express their true emotions, they also express their joy in life. Some well-known 33 sixes include Agatha Christie, Stephen King, Steven Spielberg. So there's some keys to fulfilling your destiny. If you're working 33-6, then this part will help you manifest your life purpose by focusing your attention on core issues and by generating specific action to transform key areas of your life. So some guidelines and recommendations. Reconnect with your real, not your ideal, feelings. Express your feelings, not just your thoughts. Acknowledge your sensitivity and let others see it. Appreciate who you and others are right now. And there's also some useful questions. The first one is, reflect on these following topics. How do I use my expressive energy? Do I sometimes feel burdened by self-doubt and overly idealistic standards? Can I appreciate who I am right now? Do I let people know how I feel? And if any of these questions generate any insights, how might you put those insights into practice? Deepening your understanding. You may want to review and put into the following spiritual laws. And these spiritual laws can actually help you change your life. So the universal laws that are connected to the 33 sixes, there are 5 of them. And I will be going through all of them, but here's the list of what I'm going to be going through. The law of flexibility. So staying flexible, we make the best use of difficulties and changing circumstances. The law of perfectionism. High vision can inspire us, but excellence is the best that we can achieve. The law of choices. We can express ourselves in positive or negative ways. The choice is ours. The law of intuition. As we stop comparing ourselves to others, we connect with our heart's wisdom. The law of present movement. Patience and regrets dissolve in the recognition that only now exists. So it's always a good idea to reflect on how you could apply each one of these laws in your life. And I do want to go into the law of flexibility. Flexibility is available to us far more than resistance. And by actively using whatever arises, embracing even the most painful circumstances, we deal with our difficulties more effectively. As we begin to see them as a form of spiritual training, always fall in with what you're asked to accept. Fall in with it and turn it your way. So flexibility involves acceptance of rather than resistance toward the present moment. Acceptance of ourselves, others, the current circumstances. And this does not in any way imply passive tolerance or action for what we don't like, nor does it mean ignoring injustices or allowing ourselves to be victimized. Flexibility requires an alert and expansive state of awareness. And it entails not just going with the flow, but embracing and making constructive use of it. Mastering this law, we can turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones and problems into opportunities. And when high winds blow, we don't just accept or tolerate the wind, we put up the windmills. So I do want to go into the next law, which is the law of perfection. And the law of perfection is high vision can inspire us, but excellence is the best we can achieve. So let's go into the law of perfectionism. And from a transcendental perspective, everyone and everything is unconditionally perfect. From a conventional viewpoint, perfection doesn't exist. Excellence is the best that we can achieve, and achieving it takes time and practice. We are raised on comparison. Our education is based on it. So is our culture. So we struggle to become other than who we are. And the law of perfection presents a paradox because it contains two apparently opposite truths which operate at different levels of experience. From a conventional view, the world is a place of suffering, crime in the streets, the hungry, the homeless, the oppressed. Even without the daily news in our lives, we can get what we don't want. We can suffer. And when we don't get what we don't want, we also suffer. And when we get exactly what we want, nothing lasts or seems to last in this realm. From a transcendental perspective, seeing ourselves and the world with all its difficulties from the all-encompassing wisdom and patience and love and understanding that comes with our hearts open, then all of it, the joys and sorrows, the suffering and pleasure, and everything going on in the moment on the planet Earth is absolutely, completely perfect in terms of the great process of evolution. The reminder of the bigger picture that is key for those of us who love perfection and the tendencies of a higher vision, but who often lose perspective and worry about petty details. So leaping back to the conventional reality, it is certainly not perfect or okay that anyone is cold or hungry or in pain, but from the larger, we ourselves on this great body of earth, itself a tiny speck of the void of space, and our personal dramas and global politics no more significant than a group of ants who are washed away as someone hoses off their driveway, without the ability to leap into the bigger picture and take in all of the justice and all of the injustice, the entire drama of human existence. It's very hard to have a sense of humor in this world. Those of us working with the issues of vision and acceptance need to develop the ability to take this leap of faith, this mental shift, out of our body, out of our life, out of our drama, even out of our social conscious, politically correct psyche, and see, accept, and embrace all that is. The next universal law that I want you to go into is the law of choices. We can express ourselves in positive or negative ways. The choice is ours. So that's important because, we do choose whether we want to have a positive experience or a negative experience whenever we're dealing with situations or people. So the law of choices, the most basic choice we have in life is whether to expand or contract, whether to bring our creative and expressive energies out into the world in positive or negative ways. No matter what our circumstances, we have the power to choose our directions, and in each of us are heroes. Speak to them, and they will come forth. Sometimes we feel as if our choices are made for us or by our family or by our employers or our friends, by our circumstances, or even by God. We can choose an easier path or a more difficult one, but we rarely choose to take the more painful path unless we believe it will bring us pleasure in the long run or get us to our goals more quietly. And limiting beliefs that we have, the greater our power, the greater our choice. We also need to trust our intuitive messages from our subconscious, which may choose to experience or attract people into our life with results that we don't consciously want, but that we may need for our highest good and learning. The more we honor the law of choices, the more clearly we can live our life on purpose and by choice, taking responsibility for a direction rather than viewing life as something that's just happening to us. So each of us has a creative life energy. We also have the ability to express ourselves. We can choose to create and express in either more positive or more negative ways. Let's go into the law of intuition. So the law of intuition, as we stop comparing ourselves to others, we connect to our heart's wisdom. And I really love that because it's true. As soon as we break our distractions from others, we receive insight and intuition for ourselves. So the law of intuition. We can only get in touch with our own source of intuition and wisdom. And when we no longer depend on others' opinions for our sense of identity or our worth, we all tend to worship something. The question is, will we worship the God of opinion or the God of our heart? I found I had less and less to say until finally I became silent and began to listen. I discovered in the influence the voice of God. And that was written by the famous Kierkegaard. So we are all here to live in alignment with spiritual laws. We can't escape them. But the law of intuition is critically important for us, with the issues of integrity and wisdom as a strong influence in our birth number. Those that have the law of intuition are here to connect with higher laws, which are accessed through the heart or feeling dimension. And therefore, the law of intuition benefits anyone because it enables them to open the doorway to their life purpose. The law of intuition can provide leverage for those of us who come into this world without a strong sense of identity or center or inner direction. It also addresses the needs and issues of those of us working with a 6 who tends to feel very sensitive to criticism and to worry about whether they're doing the right thing, which often gets defined by someone else. In both cases, it is easy to lose touch with our own intuition and our sense of it, the God of our heart, because we're so busy monitoring other people's opinions. So the law of intuition reminds us to recognize when we're monitoring the God of opinion and to begin to transfer that energy to the God of our heart and our quiet inner voice, to tap into what is ultimately valuable for us. And once we contact our feeling center, our inner guides will help us. We won't be able to lose sight of our own intuition. It is a place that we can determine what is best for our own life and let others do the same. And we're free to make use of that energy. So I also want to go into the law of the present moment. And this is the impatience and regrets that dissolve in the recognition that only now exists. So the law of the present moment is very important for 33 sixes to get in touch with the present moment. Time doesn't exist, and what we refer to as past and future have no reality except in our own mental construction. The idea of time is a convention of thought and language, a social agreement. In truth, we only have this moment. The present moment is a powerful goddess. And the idea that time doesn't exist may seem like an abstract philosophy, but time clearly exists. We have watches and calendars, we have memories of things of the past, and we can safely assume that certain future events will happen. But if we examine our own minds very closely, however we got to looking at possibility, only now truly exists. And when we feel regrets about the past doesn't exist, except in our minds right now, where we keep the regret alive and picture what we conjure up. When we feel anxiety about the future doesn't exist, except in our mind right now, where we keep the anxiety alive with the pictures we imagine. The law of the present moment is not an abstract concept. Time is the abstract concept. This law is not just for philosophers to appreciate it, for all of us to apply. It's especially when we get stuck in regrets about the past or concerns about the future, as we get used to the idea of the present, bringing our attention back to the now, we can change our life forever. Forever, of course, is also now. Most of our worries, regrets, and problems do not exist in this moment. They're kept alive by the pictures, feelings, and associations stored in our mind, our mental files under past and future. The law of present moment can sweep our psyche clear of debris and return us into a state of simplicity and inner peace. It won't help us in the future, however, and it never happened in the past. The law of present moment reminds us about reality as it is, not as we think it is, wish it was, or hope or fear it may be. Only this timeless moment exists. Everything else is part of the mind's magic and its show. Our body lives in the present moment. Despite all of the thoughts we may have about the past mistakes or future problems, we call upon the law of the present moment, reminding ourselves that only now exists. All we have to do is make the most of relaxing into and embracing this moment and put one foot in front of the other as we handle what appears right now, one moment, one step at a time.